Hello, everyone. I wanted to take the moment today, and I felt very inspired. Actually, I felt very inspired to think about the womb because, like, from being a young girl all the way into womanhood, adulthood, we have this womb inside of us that we don't often think about and reflect and think about all of the things that it does, all of the things that it allows for us to do, all of the what it means in general. And it's very interesting because I think about how from a young age, even before we experience any trauma, or if we don't experience any trauma, we still carry a lot of stuff. So when you come into the age of having your period, it might feel like it's something shameful. Like in some cultures, in some places, the period isn't welcome, which is very bizarre because at the end of the day, we're all here because somebody had a period, because, in order for the egg to stay in the womb, or didn't have a period, in fact, but in order for the egg to stay in the womb, you need to have it lined up. You need the endometrium needs to be lined up with blood. And the only reason why we have a period is because no egg was fertilized and it comes down. Like, we all know this. And it's about creation. Like, life is created in this way. However, like when young girls experience periods, there are so many connotations of shame, of embarrassment, of dirt, and that's so sad. Just think about, like, from the beginning, from the beginning of this realization that we have this thing in our center, we immediately think of it as something bad. Not us, but society, those around us. But obviously, there are some cultures where periods are welcomed, where periods are celebrated. So I remember when I was growing up, I actually looked forward to having my period because of how my aunties and my mum spoke about it. And it was this thing of like, you're finally going to be a woman. Like, you're going to be a woman. I mean, I think I was 10 when my period started. So to be a woman then, I feel like there's probably a different way that they could tell us, that makes it feel more, what does it actually mean, right? But it was like, oh my God, I'm going to be a woman. Like, finally, I'm going to get to be like everyone else. I'm not going to be this little girl. And so I really welcomed it. I was excited the day that it came. But I know that that's not the story for so many people. Like, for some people, it's like dreading the day that it comes, or, you know, the day that it comes, maybe there's a thing that happens in different cultures, and then the days after. So, like, even me, when I think about it, like, I was excited for my period to come, but like as the years started going by and you become a teenager and stuff, and it's like it becomes inconvenient, it becomes painful, it becomes annoying, it becomes embarrassing. I mean, at the end of the day, if you have an accident, it's a big red splodge, like, and that feels embarrassing. And I think it feels embarrassing because we don't normalize periods. Obviously, we don't talk about periods. So that just makes me feel a bit sad because it makes me think, like, you know, when we're now able to connect to this center of us, this womb, this space that carries so much and does so much, there are very critical and judgmental feelings that come towards it. Um, and that's a very sad thing to think. So I think it's like really important for us to take a moment in our day to think about our womb, connect with our womb, and show gratitude to our womb. And I know gratitude feels like such a heavy word to say when there are so many things that happen to so many people with our womb. Like, a lot of trauma happens, and that could be from abuse from a young age, and even like when you do have your first intercourse or have an intercourse like other times and stuff like that, there's pain. Like, sometimes it's actually painful. I actually had vaginismus for a very long time in my life, like 10 years. I had to do hypnotherapy for it. So there was a lot of pain that I associated with that area of my body. Then, when you come into your adult years, there is this expectation around your womb. Everyone's asking, when are you going to have children? Why are you not having children? And again, it just attaches all this anxious energy around our womb. Like, it's almost like we don't even have control of it. We don't have any control over our womb. It's like the world is who tells us what we should be doing with our womb. So like, there are some people who don't want children at all, and yet there is judgment of that. There are some people that cannot have children for whatever whatever fertility difficulties they may go through, and these people are erased from the world. Like, their journey of wanting to go through motherhood, of experiencing, maybe they go through IVF, maybe they do so many different procedures, and they're even erased through the pain that they go through. Do you know how much exhaustion, mentally, physically, emotionally, that you go through that process in order to bring a child into this world? And you start to look at your womb and yourself as invalidated. You feel like, damn, I can't do the one thing that my body is supposed to do. I'm not woman enough. You start to hate your body. And then you think about like women who do have children, but then their babies die. And again, you are invisible because the world doesn't even recognize your babies. Even if you pushed your babies out, even if you held your babies, you saw your babies, they definitely existed, your whole experience is washed away. So again, like, how much trauma you're going through within your womb, and those same feelings of like being, my body couldn't do the one thing it was supposed to do. It makes you feel so angry. It makes you feel so hurt. And then people are coming at you. Oh, don't worry, you have other children. Oh, come on, hurry up. Why are you not having more children? Like, what happened to you didn't happen. There is not enough emphasis or looking back or taking time to reflect on the journey that womb went through, on looking after our center. And then I also think about women who no longer have a womb, who have had to have a hysterectomy, and what that means. You know, that feeling of removing this part of you that was supposed to mean so much. I was talking about periods earlier as well, and it's like, how about the women who don't have periods, and what does that mean? Like, young girls who you're waiting, and then you don't have your period. And now again, you feel like, oh my goodness, I'm not a part of this great big thing. And it just goes down to the fact that we're not speaking about the tapestry of experiences. There's always so much shame. There's almost so much like, people don't believe us. Women who talk about how they're painful their periods are, and they're not believed. And it's so weird because, like, I remember when I was really young, maybe secondary school age, and there'll be people like my cousin, for example, she'd be like, her period was really painful. And then you start to think, like, other people start saying, oh, you know, it's not that painful, you're exaggerating, just take some pills. Oh, she's exaggerating, stuff like that. And then when you start to hear these things, what does that make you feel when your pain feel? And then me looking from that as an outsider who didn't have painful periods, I was like, well, my periods aren't painful, so are hers really that painful? Or is she, you know, there's this thing of like making women feel like they are attention seeking. It's really rough. It's really rough on women. And so, sorry, like, that's just actually I had a moment there. Because this thing of not believing women, not listening to women, us who experience so much, who our bodies go through so much, it's just so unfair. And I think as a collective, we need to allow ourselves the opportunity to speak about these things. Anything to do with women is always so like, oh, don't talk about it. You know, menopause, don't talk about it. And I'm glad we live in a time where we do share, where we do talk, because these conversations are so necessary. There are so many paths, so many stories that happen to us that are just not heard. And because you don't hear these stories, you think that you're the only one that has experienced this, and therefore you are a freak, I'm sorry to say that word, but that's how it feels like. You feel like, you know, it's a circus, you're in the circus and you're part of the exhibition being looked at like, why are you the odd one out? Why are you the one who's got vaginismus and everyone else is fine when it comes to, you know, having sex? Why are you the one who can't have babies? Why are you the one whose babies die repeatedly? Why are you the one who has cancer in the womb and therefore has to have their womb removed? Why are you the one whose periods are so painful? Why are you the one whose period, in fact, like when you think about painful periods, this is so important to look into because it can absolutely affect fertility later on. You know, why are you the one who started menopause early? There's also that. I know somebody who started their menopause at 25 years old. Or why are you the one that had to go through abuse? It's your fault. You know? You think these things. You think you were asking for it. You were the one asking for attention. So I say all of that to say, I think it's really important that we take pause. And if you're watching this and you've watched it till this point, if you can just take your hand and put it on your womb right now. I felt inspired to do this because yesterday my period started and I thought about how my whole life, you know, obviously, like I said, before my period started, I looked forward to having a period. And then as my teenage years were happening, it became inconvenient. It became like, you know, this is embarrassing at times. And then when my daughter died, it became, I hate periods. Why am I having a period? This is a dirty reminder. You know, seeing blood. And I know that for the people who do experience miscarriages or later loss, like seeing blood has a connotation of loss, right? And yesterday was the first time where I had a period and I was like, oh my gosh, this is great timing. Really weird, never happened before. And I thought this was great timing because yesterday was the day that I did my creative writing workshop. So it felt like, okay, this is good because I will be in my most, the most womanly experience of, and I hate even saying that because then it takes away the people who don't have periods, but I'm speaking from my experience, right? Not generalizing. So in that moment, I felt the most connected to an earthy vibe, like Mother Nature. And I felt this will be a great time to create. So as we have our hands here, I just want us all to say thank you. Thank you for existing. Even through all the things that we went through. Whether that's, you know, someone abused us. And I'm so sorry for those of us that have experienced that. If that's the loss of our beautiful children. If that's the pain that we connect and associate with this part of our body. Just being grateful that it's there. It's been with us this whole time. Sorry. Sorry for all the feelings and the unfair things that it's experienced. So sorry. Thank you for being mine. Thank you for belonging to me. Even if we're talking about a womb who has fibroids, has had cancer, has had a lot of hurt happening, cysts, endometriosis, adenomyosis. I'm so sorry. And I wish you didn't experience any more pain. That's all, guys. That's all. I hope that we're able to just take a moment to realize what we have as women is very powerful. When I think about like the power of a pen, I don't know where I'm going with this, but the power of a pen, right? It writes and you get stuff down, and it can create so many things. I won't reduce our wombs to pens. I also want to think of the womb as a place not just for creating life, but I do think of it as like a place of creative energy in general. It's our center. Like when we think about creating stuff, when we get inspired by ideas, it can come from so many different parts of our bodies. Like it can come from our head and stuff. But like, you know, when you get that gut feeling of like, I need to do this, the gut is right here, right? It's right there next to our womb. I don't even think of it as a gut feeling. I think as a womb feeling. I'm going to reclaim the power of my womb, and I'll start saying a womb feeling. And even if our womb isn't there, it once was there. But yes, everyone, thank you for sitting through and sending much love to all of us. Yeah, thank you.